You're not lazy, you're not broken, and you're definitely not just unmotivated. The truth is, you care. Maybe too much. So much that starting feels dangerous. I used to think procrastination was all about being undisciplined, like I just needed to push harder, get my act together, stop being weak. But that never worked, because the problem wasn't effort, it was emotion. And behind that emotion, a tiny chemical that's been quietly running the show without me even realizing it. This is the real reason you can't stop procrastinating, and I promise it's not what you think. You don't procrastinate because you're lazy, you procrastinate because you care too much. Here's the part no one tells you. Procrastination doesn't come from a lack of discipline. It comes from a fear of disappointment. Not disappointing other people, disappointing yourself. Let me guess, you've got big plans. You imagine crushing it, being productive, finally getting your life together. But when it's time to actually do the thing, your brain goes, you know what sounds safer? Watching one more video about how to stop procrastinating. Yeah, I've been there. I used to beat myself up about this. I'd say, why can't I just start? I thought I was lazy, weak, maybe even broken. But the truth was, I cared too much. I wanted things to be good, so good that the idea of messing it up froze me. I wasn't avoiding the task, I was avoiding the feeling that came with it. That tight-chested pressure, that voice that says, what if I'm not good enough? And your brain? It's smart. It knows discomfort is coming, so it quietly pulls you towards something easier, something safer. Suddenly, reorganizing your Spotify playlist feels urgent. It's not laziness, it's protection. It's your brain saying, hey, let's not risk screwing this up. Let's just stay here where it's cozy and predictable. That's not you being weak. That's you being human. But here's the catch. The more you avoid it, the scarier it feels. And the scarier it feels, the less your brain wants to deal with it. So you stay stuck, not because you don't care, but because you care too much. So what's the way out? You stop trying to be fearless, and you just start small. You lower the bar. You write the ugly first sentence. You go to the gym and just sit in the parking lot if you have to. Because every tiny action tells your brain, hey, this isn't dangerous. And once your brain stops sounding the alarm, motivation comes back. So no, you're not lazy. You're someone who wants to do things well but got caught in the loop of fear. The good news? You can break the loop. And it doesn't take a miracle. Just a little courage and one tiny step. You're addicted to starting, not finishing. Okay, be honest. How many times have you gotten super hyped about a new idea? You open a fresh doc, make a to-do list, maybe even buy a fancy notebook. For the first 10 minutes, you're unstoppable. You're like, this time, I'm gonna change my life. Fast forward 2 days. And that notebook? Yeah, it's somewhere under a pile of laundry, probably judging you silently. Here's the truth. Most of us aren't addicted to doing the thing. We're addicted to the feeling of starting it. That initial rush of new project energy, that's dopamine. It's excitement, possibility, and potential all rolled into one juicy brain cocktail, and your brain loves it. But finishing is messy. It's where things stop being fun and start being hard. That's when doubt kicks in. You start thinking, wait, is this even good? Or what if this actually sucks? So your brain, trying to protect you again, hits the eject button. And just like that, you're back at square one, starting something new. Because starting feels good. It feels safe. Finishing, though. Finishing requires you to face the outcome, the judgment, the final product. That's scary. So your brain convinces you it's better to stay in the realm of what could be instead of risking the disappointment of what is. But here's the kicker. When you're always starting and never finishing, you never get that real hit of fulfillment. You end up chasing the high of potential without ever tasting the satisfaction of completion. So the next time you catch yourself jumping to a new idea, pause. Ask yourself, am I chasing growth or just avoiding the discomfort of actually following through? Because guess what? Real confidence, the kind you're looking for, doesn't come from starting something amazing. It comes from finishing something messy, imperfect, but real. Your procrastination is trying to protect your identity. This one might feel a little weird at first, but stick with me because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You ever notice how sometimes you avoid certain tasks that really matter to you? Like deep down, you want to do them, but for some reason, you just can't make yourself start? It's not because the task is boring. It's not even that it's too hard. It's because doing it threatens how you see yourself. Here's what I mean. Let's say you think of yourself as smart. If you try something challenging and fail, that identity takes a hit. Your brain's like, wait, if I do this and mess it up, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought. And boom, instant shutdown. You'll do literally anything else just to avoid facing that possibility. Your procrastination isn't random, it's strategic. It shows up strongest when the task could affect the story you've been telling yourself. Like, if you start that business and it flops, what does that say about you? If you finally go to the gym but still feel insecure, then what? So instead of risking an identity crisis, your brain quietly steers you away. It says, hey, maybe we'll just do this later. Or never. That works too. But here's the wild part. You'll stay stuck, not because you don't believe in your dreams, but because deep down, you're afraid they'll prove something about you. That maybe you're not as talented, disciplined, or worthy as you hope. And that's heavy, but it's also freeing. Because once you realize this isn't about laziness or time management, you stop fighting the wrong battle. You stop trying to force motivation and start asking the real question. What part of me am I trying to protect? And from there, you can choose to move forward, not as someone perfect, but as someone real. You've confused productivity with performance. Let me guess, you've had days where you were busy all day long, but at the end of it, you still felt kinda empty. Like you crossed a bunch of things off your to-do list, but none of them actually moved your life forward. Yeah, same here. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of what we call being productive is really just performing. Performing for other people. Performing for our ego. Performing so we feel like we're making progress, even if we're not. You check your emails, respond to messages, organize your folders, all while the one thing that actually matters, the scary, meaningful task, sits quietly in the corner collecting dust. But hey, you're being productive, right? The truth is, you're procrastinating in disguise. You're avoiding the hard stuff by burying yourself in safe effort. The kind of effort that gets you instant little hits of satisfaction, dopamine, but doesn't actually lead to change. And here's where it gets sneaky. You look like you're on top of things. People might even say, wow, you're so organized. Meanwhile, deep down, you know you're avoiding the one thing that actually matters. Why? Because that task, the real one, it carries weight. It might expose you, it might not work. It might challenge the story you've been telling yourself about who you are. So instead, you stay busy, you perform, and your brain rewards you just enough to keep you in the loop. But here's the catch. Performance without purpose leads to burnout, because no matter how many tasks you complete, your soul knows when you're not being honest. And that quiet frustration you feel at the end of the day, that's not failure, that's your intuition, whispering you're capable of more. So maybe it's time to stop performing productivity and start creating impact, even if that means doing less, even if that means doing what's hard. Because the stuff that scares you, that's usually where the real work begins. You're avoiding the emotion, not the task. Let's be real for a second. You're not putting it off because the task is impossible. You're putting it off because of how it makes you feel. The pressure, the fear, that tight little knot in your chest. It's not the email or the assignment or the call. It's the emotional baggage that comes with it. And your brain? It's all about avoiding discomfort. It scans the situation and goes, this feels unpleasant. Let's not. So instead of writing the report, you suddenly remember that your kitchen drawer really needs organizing. Because that's easy. That doesn't make you feel like a failure. That doesn't challenge your self-worth. Most of us think procrastination is a time problem, but it's really an emotion problem. The task itself is neutral. It's the meaning we attach to it that makes it feel heavy. What if I mess up? What if I sound stupid? What if I prove I'm not good enough? That's what you're avoiding. And here's where it all clicks. Your brain is trying to protect you again, not from the task, but from the feeling you think will come with it. The good news? You don't have to feel amazing to take action. You just need to stop waiting for the emotion to go away and start anyway. You think you need motivation. What you really need is grief. I know. Doesn't sound like the pep talk you were expecting, but hear me out. Most people think they procrastinate because they lack motivation. Like they're just waiting for that magical spark to show up and drag them out of bed. But the truth is, it's not motivation that's missing, it's closure. Because in order to start living differently, you have to let go of who you used to be. The version of you that coped by avoiding, that stayed safe by not trying. That built a whole identity around "I'll do it later." And letting go of that version, it hurts. There's grief in growth. No one talks about that. We always say, just reinvent yourself, like it's a makeover montage, but the truth is, reinvention means something has to die. And your brain knows that. That's why it clings to old habits, even when they're destroying your progress, because at least they're familiar. So if you've been stuck, not moving, always restarting, maybe it's not because you're weak. Maybe you're in mourning the comfort of who you were, mourning the easy way out. And that's okay. You don't need more hype. You need a moment of honesty, a quiet goodbye to the old you. That's the real beginning. So maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're just human, stuck in patterns that once protected you but now hold you back. Procrastination isn't a flaw. It's a signal that something deeper needs your attention. Not another planner, Not another 5 a.m. routine. Just honesty. Just small, messy steps in the right direction. And if this hit you in a way you weren't expecting, good. That means something's shifting. Don't let this be another video you watch and forget. Let it be the line you draw in the sand. Start with one thing, one honest action, today. And if you want more content like this, raw, real, and made for people who are actually trying, hit subscribe. Big Brain isn't here to motivate you. We're here to wake you up. See you in the next one.